Indiana football hosting Michigan this weekend. Could they become a top 5 team if they win?
You are Locked On Hoosiers, your daily podcast on the Indiana Hoosiers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into this, the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. I'm your man, Jacob Goins. I appreciate you being here, making this your first listen each and every day. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers place a $5 bet, and if you win, they're going to give you $150 in bonus bets with just winning your $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Well, apologies for the voice. We're battling with that again. Here we go. That time of the year, right? So appreciate you sticking with me, those of you on audio and those of you here on the video side on YouTube. So bear with me on the voice type of thing, but we're going to get through this today because tons to get to. On Locked On Hoosiers, Indiana basketball back on the hardwood. They're hosting Eastern Illinois this time, so they're just making their way around the state, right? Playing Eastern Illinois on Sunday. We'll talk about what we want to see there. Plus, could Indiana be a top 5 college football playoff team looking at the rankings? And now they play Michigan. This is a team, this is a game, this is a series that has been brutal for Indiana, abysmal for Indiana. Like, historically, probably one of the worst matchups in all of college football. Like, in terms of just how lopsided this thing is, it's pretty bad. But even in recent history, it's been really bad. 27 of the last 28 games have gone to Michigan. The only time that we've beaten them in the last 28 times was during COVID. That was a 17-point win. But it was during COVID. So, you can count that if you want to, but whatever. We don't beat Michigan very often, okay? And it's because Michigan always has really, really good talent. They're one of those teams that, yes, it recruits itself, but it's also just they've had really good coaches throughout their time, and they've been able to get super, super high talent. And Indiana's just not a place that's been able to keep up with that, and especially in depth, right? That's the thing with a team like a Michigan where, yeah, they're going to have a lot of talent, but they have a lot of depth too. And by the third and fourth quarter, Indiana just can't keep up, even if they do have a good team. Well, now the roles are reversed. Michigan's a struggling football team. The defending national champs, look, they got their trophy. They're good. Their coach dipped out. Everybody else dipped out too. And now they're 5-4. They're kind of just hanging around. They're kind of a mediocre team. And here are the Hoosiers. One of the best stories in college football. Number 8 in the college football playoff rankings. We're undefeated still. 9-0 so far this season with a chance to be a double-digit win team. And we're favored by double digits too. Favored by 14 points, depending on where you look. That's with our friends at FanDuel. I mean, that just is insane to me to see. And I hope that a lot of you kind of had that same feeling, right? It's like, man, that's just a weird sight to see. Not only are you favored against Michigan, but you're favored to beat them by nearly 2 touchdowns. And I know it's at home. We're not going to the big house. We are back in Bloomington. I expect the crowd to be crazy. I expect the atmosphere to be good. I expect the entire weekend to be a really big event here in Bloomington. But I don't know. It seems like a trap game for Indiana. And I know a lot of people like to use the look ahead scenario with Ohio State coming up in a couple of weeks. Good news is Indiana has a bye week. Indiana has a bye week next week before we have to go to Columbus and play the Buckeyes. And so if this was next Saturday, right, if Ohio State was next Saturday, I could understand that. I could get that. But having the bye week, I think Indiana is easily able to focus everything on Michigan, take a week off, and focus everything on Ohio State. And because of that, I do think we will be ready to play this football game. You've got your quarterback back, right? Curtis Rourke will be playing again. Everybody seems to be pretty healthy here. And you're taking on a Michigan team that has yet to find its offensive identity. I mean, look at some of these games that they've played in. They just lost to Oregon 38-17. They beat Michigan State somehow 24-17. Illinois, they scored 7. Washington, they scored 17. So, like, they're not a crazy good offense. And we understand that we have an impeccable defense. Like our defense could be the anchor of this team. And they continue to ball out and do what they're supposed to do. And we love to see that. We absolutely do. And so for Indiana, I think the game plan is to do what you do defensively. Let your linebackers get after the quarterback. Defensive line's going to create pressure. And you know what? Throw it on the secondary. Go for it. That's one of the best parts of the team because they continue to force turnovers and they don't let big plays happen. I think that's what's really, really important here about this Indiana defense. And then offensively for Indiana, just continue to run the football. Run the ball with your dynamic duo. And then when Curtis Rourke needs to throw it, let him throw it. He's proven again, even after the injury, his decision-making is still elite. His on-time, on-target passes are still almost perfect. And he basically picked up right where he left off. And we fully trust him to go and win this football game for you. And again, with Curt Cignetti as your head coach, you understand that this team will be ready to go. They will be prepared to play this game and to win this game. Now, I understand that Indiana this season, we have not only won all of our games, we've dominated all of our games. Nobody has played us within more than 2 scores. So it's easy, right, for the boys in Vegas to say, oh, well, they'll continue that trend. It's Michigan. They're terrible. Indiana will win by 2 touchdowns. I don't know. Do I think we're capable of doing that? Absolutely. I'm more concerned with just winning the game for right now. But in terms of what Vegas thinks, they think Indiana's going to win and they're going to win going away. I just find it really hard, man. I find it really hard to predict a conference team to beat another conference team by 2 or more touchdowns. It just seems like a lot, even if with everything happening and the fact that we know Indiana's 2 touchdowns better than Michigan. I think Indiana's going to win this football game. I do. I think we're going to win. I wouldn't be surprised if Michigan keeps it close, but Indiana's 2 touchdowns better than Michigan. And they're probably a lot better than that too, a lot more better than that. So I think Indiana, you just do what you do, man. Let your guys get after it on defense, continue to run the offense you've been running, and you're good to go. You're going to be able to beat Michigan. But the question now becomes, if Indiana beats Michigan and they continue to win and they go into Ohio State, can they become a top 5 team? We'll talk about that coming up next on Locked on Hoosiers. Today's episode of Locked on Hoosiers is brought to you by LinkedIn Jobs. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just another job board. LinkedIn helps you hire professionals you cannot find anywhere else, even those who aren't actively searching for a new job, but might be open to the perfect role. In a given month, over 70% of LinkedIn users don't visit other leading job sites. So if you're not looking on LinkedIn, you're simply just looking in the wrong place. On LinkedIn, 86% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. Hire professionals like a professional on LinkedIn. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. Welcome back into Locked on Hoosiers. Again, thank you so much for being here. All my audio listeners and my video watchers on YouTube. Again, we are fighting through the voice today, so we appreciate you hanging around with that. And for all of the audio listeners, be sure you are following us over there. Have your notifications turned on so you never miss a new episode. And then for all of my YouTube watchers, be sure you like this video. Comment your score predictions down below for Indiana and Michigan. Do the Hoosiers get it done? Are they on upset watch? Do you think we blow them out like we've done everybody else? Let me know in the YouTube comments down below. And then be sure that you hit the subscribe button as well. Well, Indiana hosting Michigan this weekend, and we saw where we came in the first initial college football playoff rankings, right? We were the number 8 team in the country. We came in as the 9 seed in the first bracket. But people are starting to talk. People are starting to wonder, could Indiana become a top 5 team? Could they become a top 5 team in the rankings? And I know that the bracket is going to be difficult, right? Because to get top 5 or at least top 4 in that, you're going to have to win the Big Ten, which is still very much on the table for Indiana. But could we get top 5 with a win over Michigan? And I think the more important question here is, will Indiana get respect? Will they get the respect that they still deserve that a lot of people still are not giving them? I think everybody has taken notice of Indiana. I think it's impossible not to. If you're a college football analyst, fan, media person, whatever the case may be, even a casual watcher, right? Everybody understands what's happening with Indiana football right now. But there are still people who say, yeah, well, their strength of schedule, it's in the hundreds. They're not even that good. Wait till they play somebody good. Wait till they play Ohio State. And you know what? I totally understand. I totally get where they're coming from. Okay, I do. But, man, we're not just scraping by. We're dominating. We are absolutely obliterating every single team that we play. And Michigan tomorrow could very well be the exact same scenario. And so what else are we supposed to do? That's what I've been saying all season long is, what do you want us to do? We're playing the teams in front of us. We're playing the teams that are on our schedule, and we're beating them worse than anybody else is right now. And so with a win over Michigan, would that make you a top 5 team? No, probably not. I mean, you look at the rankings right now. I mean, Tennessee's in front of you. Penn State is somehow in front of you. Texas, Miami, Georgia, Ohio State, and Oregon. And so you would need Tennessee to lose, or Penn State to lose again, or Texas to lose again, Miami to possibly lose a game, right? Because they don't play a single ranked team on their schedule. Georgia, possibly, believe they have Ole Miss this weekend, Ohio State or Oregon. So, I mean, you need a team to lose to probably keep moving up. But this does set up, right? This does set up for Ohio State and for Indiana to be a top 10, possibly a top 5 matchup if we get that far. Ohio State has Purdue and Northwestern between now and then, so no real concerns on them losing a game. They'll still be a top 3 college football playoff team. It's all about Indiana and where we are going to be when we walk into Columbus. Now, you walk in to beat the Buckeyes in the shoe, you'll be a top 5 team. There ain't no doubt about it. And if you're not, we raise hell and we march on whatever building they're in, because that would be ridiculous. But I think we would be at that point. And, you know, it's funny because people like us, right, fans and podcasters and things like that, we can talk about these things. We can ponder, oh, we should be a top 5 team, or we should be this seed, or we should go here, or we should do this, whatever. Curt Cignetti and this staff and this team, they don't care. They don't care where they are or what they do. They're just winning games, man. And that's why this Michigan game is so important, because then it all comes down to the Ohio State game next week. And yeah, it literally all comes down to that, because I have a fear, right? My fear is with that strength of schedule that we're currently dealing with right now here in Indiana. You lose that game, you really don't have a whole lot to back yourself up on after that, because you get Purdue in your season finale. We'd be a 1-loss team with a lot of big margin wins, but in terms of just beating good teams, there's not a lot of them on our schedule. And so, it puts so much pressure on that game. And thankfully, you get the bye to prepare for that. And hopefully you can take care of Michigan, not get injured, learn a few things, and prepare for the Buckeyes. If you win, you're absolutely a top 5 team. You're on your way to playing in the Big Ten championship game. But that also brings up that question too, right? It also brings up that age-old question that I've been pondering to you of, well, is it beneficial to play in your conference championship game? Or is it better to maybe have a loss or two, sit on the outside, and hope that they put you in anyway? I don't know. I'll be honest with you. I don't think, in this whole scenario, I don't think that Indiana has the luxury to not play in the conference championship game. I think we have to play the Big Ten championship. I really do. I don't think we have the luxury of missing that game, which would mean losing to Ohio State. We would not make it to the championship game at that point, and then sitting at home and hoping that they put us in. I don't think they're going to give us that. I don't think they're going to allow that to happen. And so with that, you have to beat Ohio State. I mean, it's simple. You can't slip up against Michigan or Purdue. Absolutely not. Then you're doomed, right? Then, well, you slip up against Michigan or Purdue, but you beat Ohio State, then we're in that same boat of now we're on the outside looking in from the Big Ten championship game, and we're hoping that they put us in the college football playoff. At that point, I don't know. A one-loss Indiana team, but they have a win over Ohio State. That gets a little bit more interesting. I'd rather not worry about that. I'd rather just have an undefeated season and go to the Big Ten championship. Now, another question you could bring up is, okay, Indiana finishes the regular season undefeated and they get to the college football play, or they get to the Big Ten championship game, but they lose. They lose to Oregon. Okay, then what? Are you going to punish them for getting to the championship game and losing to what is the number one team in the country? Or are you going to reward them for getting that far, not considering the actual result and seeding based off of what you've seen all season? That's what they're supposed to do. That's what they're supposed to do. But let's be real. They're not. They won't. They'll take it into consideration. What are they going to do? Not watch? The committee's just going to say, oh, no, can't. Nope, have no idea what's happening in the conference championship games. Like, give me a break, man. Give me a break. And so there's a lot of unanswered questions here, and there's a lot of concerns here for Indiana. But the message is clear. Win, and you're in. You win your games, you'll be playing in a college football playoff. You may be able to host a college football playoff game at Memorial Stadium. How awesome would that be? There's a chance for it. There's an absolute chance for it. But it starts this Saturday. It starts tomorrow with Michigan. When they come to your house, you've got to take care of business and take down the Wolverines, a team you've struggled to do so for a long, long time. Well, coming up on our final segment on Locked On Hoosiers, we'll flip over to basketball as Mike Woodson and the boys are in action this weekend. On Sunday, we'll talk about their game against Eastern Illinois, coming up on Locked On Hoosiers. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by Robinhood. With Robinhood Gold, you don't need a silver spoon to eat up the financial favors of the 1%. Robinhood Gold allows others to get the rates and perks usually reserved for the high society. Now, the resourceful individual with Robinhood Gold can earn the very liberal rate of 4.5% APY on uninvested cash and be rewarded with a handsome 3% retirement boost on an IRA account. Robinhood Gold provides the privileges of a high net worth for any net worth. These generous benefits are now available for only $5 a month. The new gold standard is here with Robinhood Gold. Sign up at robinhood.com/gold. Terms apply. For product-specific disclosures, visit robinhoodgold.com/gold. Investing involves risk. That's robinhood.com/gold. Rate may change. Gold membership is offered by Robinhood Gold, LLC. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Did you hop in on the Ravens last night, taking down the Bengals, even though, man, Bengals fought hard. They just couldn't get it done. Hey, I love going for two, though. I do. I love going for two, and they just couldn't quite get it done. Right now on FanDuel, new customers can bet $5, and you're going to get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Final segment here on Locked On Hoosiers. Thanks so much again for being here. Shout out to all of my everydayers. Indiana basketball back in action this weekend. It's on Sunday at noon Eastern time, 11 a.m. Central time on the Big Ten Network Plus. Yes, you're going to have to stream this thing, and that's okay. Indiana 1-0 on the season, top 20 Indiana team back at home after getting a win over in the opener, right? 80-61 against SIU Edwardsville. So Indiana will now get Eastern Illinois coming to town as you have another game here before you play South Carolina, right? That game's on the horizon for Indiana basketball. And so I don't think there's any look ahead here. I mean, I just think you're playing a Sunday afternoon game inside of Assembly Hall. And it's another one of those. Do we have a spread on this? No. Vegas said, no, you're not getting a spread for this game. That's okay. ESPN says 98% chance to win, which I think is probably pretty accurate. It's another one of those games where, look, Indiana's supposed to win, right? You're supposed to win. You're supposed to win by 100, and nobody's even going to care. But again, remember last year where this team struggled with non-conference games right out of the gate. They didn't play great the other night, but they didn't play bad. They didn't struggle like they did last year. But again, teams like Eastern Illinois, I know they're 1-1, but they're better than they used to be just because of the transfer portal and NIL. Like, all of these teams are better. And I told you the other day, right, this is a team that lost to Illinois by 1 million and then beat some team that doesn't have a logo on websites. And so we don't really know what this team is. We know that they're not great. We know that Indiana will outmatch them, outman them, outplay them, everything like that. And you are supposed to win. This is really about just getting new rotations in and getting some other rotations in and still figuring out who you are, figuring out what you want to be as a basketball team. And one thing that I believe I failed to mention and highlight the other day about this Indiana team and their performance in the opener, they shot 6 of 16 from downtown. That's 37.5%. That's amazing for this team anyway. That's great. That's a great percentage. You'll take that. You would take that every single night if you're Indiana basketball. 37.5% from downtown when your best shooter, supposedly your best three-point shooter, and Luke Goody didn't do anything, right? Had a couple of nice plays drawn up for him, had a couple of nice shots, just couldn't connect, right? So he's supposed to be your best three-point shooter. I think that's a Mackenzie Mbako, but regardless, you have another good shooter on the bench who didn't even contribute to that and will allow you to hopefully be even more dangerous moving forward. So for Indiana on Sunday, just do your thing, take care of business, get out there, play a little bit, have a little fun. I do want to see us continue to be high pressure on defense. I do want to see us continue to run up and down the floor and push the basketball in transition. And I'll give you a player to watch. Watch Kanaan Carlyle here. Watch Kanaan Carlyle. If he's good to go, he got a lot of playing time, just didn't do a whole lot of statistical things in the opener on Wednesday. Look for him to bounce back in this game and see if he gets a little bit more involved on the offensive end of the floor. If he does, Indiana's going to be fine regardless. But I do want to see him be a little more aggressive, allow him to maybe run a little point if you have a chance there, Woody, and see what he can do. Defensively, he's great. His IQ is through the roof. And so just want to see him kind of get comfortable a little bit here in Indiana. And then, don't expect Mackenzie Mbako to go off for 30-plus points. Again, he very well might, but I don't think we need it. And to be quite honest with you, I kind of hope he doesn't, just so we can see what other guys can do, right? Because he had the hot hand, get in the basketball. He was playing out of his mind. But I do want to see more of Ballo and Renew, and I do want to see more of Hatton and Goody off the bench. Heck, I want to see more Trey Galloway off the bench. Who would have thought I would have said that, right? I want to see those guys continue to get minutes and reps and playing together and seeing how this thing gels. Nobody's worried about Eastern Illinois this weekend, but it's not about that. It's about getting better before you play South Carolina next week. That's a really big game. That's a team from the SEC that, sure, they slipped up early, but they're still really talented. So you're preparing for them and then ultimately preparing for a midseason tournament. So Indiana playing Eastern Illinois. That's on Sunday. We are going to have full coverage this weekend for Locked On Hoosiers. We'll have a reaction episode after Indiana beats Michigan. We'll also have a reaction episode after Indiana beats Eastern Illinois. Okay, one on Saturday and one on Sunday. That's 7 days a week now, ladies and gentlemen. So be sure, if you are here on Locked On Hoosiers on the audio side, you're subscribed, you're downloading, you're following, and notifications over there. YouTube, like, comment, and subscribe. That's the best thing you can do to help out this show, okay? Have a fantastic weekend. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Reaction episode for football, reaction episode for basketball as well. We're full-time here at Locked On Hoosiers. So have a great weekend. Until next time, stay safe, Hoosier fans, and I'll talk to you later.